Hello everyone, it's Old Guardian here. The Hearthstone rotation is fast approaching, so this is not a great time to spend a lot of dust in new decks, but I mean, it is a game and it's not an economic simulator, so it would kind of be fun to at least play the game and not just do nothing for a month. So I have completed now my budget journey in Galakrond's Awakening, and that culminates in a total of 8 budget decks that I can recommend for climbing. These were all part of my climbs late last season and then early this season, so all of these have successfully climbed ranks between 4 and Legend. Of course, general statistics of these decks are not available. I only have my own small sample sizes of each, and it's inconclusive. I would need thousands of games per deck to really put them in proper order, but this is overall my impression of how strong each of these decks was. But that can also change depending on the meta. Anyway, coming in at number 8 is Galakrond Zoo. 1400 dust, perfectly viable deck. A fun deck to play, makes good use of your free Galakrond for Warlock, floods the board time and time again, get some buffs on that board, and then those 4 random demons and the 5/2 claw in the end. This is one of the decks that is the closest to its original counterpart, because adding in some more expensive cards to Zoo deck doesn't make that much stronger. Even stuff like Kronx, it's even debatable whether it's an improvement or not for the deck. So this is very close to the full cost archetype in its performance, but then again, Zoo performance overall is not that great right now. So definitely a deck that you can climb with. In the right meta it can even be easy, but you can also find some stronger decks for the current meta game. At number 7, there's Token Druid, 2620 dust, so it does cost a little bit more because you really need those 2 epics. 2 copies of Force of Nature are mandatory for this deck because you need them for all of those treant synergies and for the Garden Gnome synergies. This version does lose a little bit of power compared to the full cost version because there's no Anubis at Defenders, there's no Goro the Maitri, but I have found that running bees is pretty good, and bees is something that many full cost decks are not running. Perhaps it will be incorporated into them later, who knows. But right now, by using bees you can gain a bit of an edge in many of the fast matchups because bees allows you to be a little bit more proactive and gives you a little bit more chance to gain that board control. A fine climbing deck overall, and one of the upsides of this deck is that it's really easy to upgrade, because if you have those defenders or Goro you can just swap them in at any point, one at a time. Coming in at number 6 is Galakrond Shaman. 2400 dust, but it also requires 2 chapters from Galakrond's Awakening because you have to have the explosive evolution. A fun little deck to play, a little bit different. You can't find a deck like this on HS Replay at all. Lackey Galakrond Shaman has not been explored at all in general, but it's pretty effective with those lackeys and then the evolve effects and then the Galakrond. There's lots of surprises that you can do with this deck, and one of the upsides of this deck is that because it's so different than anything that's being played, it means that the opponents don't know how to play against it at all. And that's part of the thing that gives you an edge. At number 5, Face Hunter. Face Hunter usually has been the cheapest deck to build in the game, but not so in the current meta because toxic reinforcements is so vitally important for the deck. Face Hunter is quite one-dimensional. If the meta is a little bit defensive, then Face Hunter just can't find any success whatsoever, and right now it needs that toxic reinforcement so that it has enough damage to end the games. So that brings the cost up to 2120 dust, but it's still an effective deck and with very fast games. At number 4, Resurrect Priest, completely viable even on a budget. This list that I was playing included Kronx because this was built on a viewer request and Kronx was available, but replacing Kronx with Forbidden Words is completely possible. That brings the cost down to 3460 dust, one of the more expensive ones, but if you want to make use of your free Priest Galakrond, then this is the way to do it. And the epic cards that you need for it to work, Psycho Bombs and Plagues of Death, are cards that Priest is very likely to be using for quite some time. At number 3 we have Galakrond Rogue. This time kind of a questing adventurer rogue really, because you don't have all those nice Leroys and Heist Baron Togwaggles and Flicks and everything. Galakrond Rogue, the full cost list, is just full of legendary cards. So this is quite a bit cheaper and works a bit differently, because you really want those questing adventurers and you try to win the game with those. But you also have that Galakrond and those free cards, and there is a Reckless Rocketeer in this for some additional burst, even though it's not quite the same as having Leroy. At number 2 we have Galakrond Warrior at 2920 dust. Unfortunately, Galakrond Warrior requires 4 epic cards to work. You have to have those 2 copies of Towncrier and you have to have those 2 copies of Scion of Ruin. I tried to make it without them, but I just could not get it to work. The unique twist in this budget deck is the use of Frothing Berserker. With Scions of Ruin to protect it, Frothing can actually get quite a few things done. And that gives you a little bit of a different approach from the regular Galakrond Warrior, a little bit burstier, and just a little bit of surprise element, something that the opponent doesn't quite expect, and that's always good for winning games. And finally, what I would say is the best budget deck at the moment is Dragon Hunter. 1400 dust, no adventure. It's funny really, Dragon Hunter was brought into the game because of the adventure cards, especially Rottnest Drake. That like, okay, now we can build an aggressive hunter deck. But it turns out that with the use of Evasive Worm, with the use of Animal Companion, you can actually build this deck without the adventure as well, and it's still really good. Not as one-dimensional as Face Hunter, it has more of an ability to go for a slightly longer game, but still extremely aggressive, and a good choice for climbing, even all the way to Legend. You can find links to more detailed guides with gameplay of all of these decks down in the description, and you can also find links to all of my social media accounts and ways to support the content that I create down there. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the show, please click the like button and subscribe to my channel for more.